Hey, how are you? I am back with another Sunday Beanspiration. I hope you are experiencing greatness today. This week, I wanted to talk about who are you? Who are you really, right? So I think that a lot of times we confuse what we do with who we are. Like, we're not important enough if we don't do something that kind of raises an eyebrow, like, And so I wanted to highlight that. I was watching a show this weekend with my husband. The name of the show is Manhunt. And so in that show, a woman who was a reporter, she reported a story on a guy that he was a bomber, right? And the FBI was investigating into him. And so the story turned out to be wrong, and she didn't want to retract her story because she's like, well, I did my research and I put out I followed all the rules and I put out the story as it should have been put out at the time. So that's not even the point of it. But the point of it is that when she was kind of going back and forth as to whether she's going to apologize and retract her story, she went to see her mom and she asked her, she's like, if you had to take down all of my articles that she had posted them on her wall or framed them. If you had to take all these down, what would you put up instead? So basically what she was getting at is that was really all that she was her work, and that if she wasn't her work, then what else would she be? And I think a lot of us may resonate with that, just depending on where you are, or you struggle with, if I didn't accomplish XYZ, then I'm not, whatever. And so I wanted to highlight that we are not what we do, we're more than what we do. And I heard a quote that kind of keeps coming back to me, that it's more like an affirmation. I am a human being, not a human doing, right? We weren't meant to really just be here to do, but we were also meant to be. And in our being, we create and make wonderful things and contribute to everyone's life being better. So productivity is necessary, it's necessary, it's important for us to work and create and produce and contribute, but it's not everything. It's really not who we are, right? What we're contributing and what we're doing is not the essence, right? The essence, your core, who are your worth. So as usual, I'm no expert. I just a girl who loves God, and I wanted to add a scripture to this to kind of highlight, what exactly this means and how we can sort of relate the two. And so I came with Genesis 2:2, which reads, by the seventh day, God has finished his work and rested. And it says a little bit more than that, but that's just like the most important part. So the seventh day, God had finished his work and rested. That really speaks to the paragraphs or the scriptures before that talks about how God created the heavens, he created the earth, he created the sun, he created the day and the night, and he created man, etc. And when he was done, he rested on the seventh day. And why is that important? Because I wanted to highlight the fact that the rest part is the part that speaks to who we are. The rest part is where we work on our inner self, our being, really. So when it says that he rested, it's not saying that he was tired or that he couldn't handle it, or that he measured up, or that he was getting frustrated. It was more like part of his work, part of his job that he took on was to also rest, right? That was the completion part. So number 7 signifies completion, but it doesn't say 1 through 6 signifies completion. 7 signifies completion. So the 7th day is just as important as day 1 through 6, because it's important to actually complete what you do, and that 7th day is the rest day. So I just wanted to point out how important it is for us to rest, recharge, rejuvenate. And this is not so much about taking a break as much as it's about working on who you are. Because when you're working on who you are, that's when you get to make or produce more creativity. That's when you get to, come up with more ideas. That's when you get to come up with more strategies. So that part is really important. I was actually also having a conversation with some people, entrepreneurs, talking about, experiencing burnout and, just sort of being frustrated, and also having like a level of fear of success. And so all of those things, can be dealt with, when you spend time working on who you are and getting to know you at your core, and when we neglect taking care of ourselves, then we don't get that time to kind of see the greatness in the things that we're doing, to kind of appreciate, to kind of get a new perspective. So it's all about how you're looking at it. So what I had shared in that conversation is that you should count your rest time and your recharge time and the time that you may need to do to research or just figure things out as your work time. So if you're working on researching and figuring things out, that's part of the process. That's part of your 1 through 7, right? So it's inclusive. And I think we often have people who are doers, right? Often have this guilt thing where you're always doing and going. And when you have a chance to actually relax, you're feeling guilty about that. And that guilt, takes your mind on a run, and it doesn't allow you to actually enjoy the recharge, and therefore you never really rested at all. And so it's important to really have that time, or accept the time of rest, accept that time as part of my process. This is part of my process. This is part of the doing. I think there was a, I don't remember which painter it was, but one of them was commissioned. I think it was a Sistine Chapel. If I'm wrong, I apologize. One of them was commissioned to do a painting, and they hired him, paid him all this money to do this painting, and he just went and he sat there for a couple of days, just staring and thinking, and he went on walks and sat in places that sparked creativity. And they're like, this is ridiculous, we're paying you to do a painting and you're not even doing anything. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm working. And that's because all of the creativity came during that time. We can call it a time of meditation or reflection. And he was able to, I feel like it was a 16 chapel. He was able to create something that is, still known and still extremely respected today. And so that just goes to say, that's where the magic happens. When you are allowing yourself to rejuvenate, that's where who you are meets what you do, and that's where the magic happens. That's where you level up and come up with your next move or your next greatness. And that may look different for everybody, right? So everybody doesn't have to do anything that necessarily society says is big, but it may be big to you, and it may be big in your life and to those who you are there to influence. And so you would never drive a car for 30 years or more and not get an oil change, not get a maintenance, not get a checkup or whatever it is, not change the tires and things like that. All of that is sort of important. So self-care is what it is. And that's how you get to know who you are you really? And so you don't want to be left with, the accomplishment or the thing that you checked off, that's what I did for a living or do for a living, and turn around and not know who you are. At the end of the day, a lot of people experience that regret later on in life when they've retired, or their job is taken away from them, or their job is eliminated, or things like that. You want to still know who you are and who's important to you, and who your family is, and who are those people who you can rely on, who will still be there, for you. And that only comes when you put in the time and the intention around doing those things. And that's all I got. I hope this was helpful. I found it very interesting and kind of really resonated. And I know people relate to this. So do me a favor, give me a comment. Let me know what you thought. Did this kind of resonate with you? I'd like to know if you guys are, benefiting from these. And I hope you have an amazing week. Don't forget to stay prayed up, and I'll see you next week.